Time for Heath's bold predictions. Hit like, hit subscribe, and here we go. It is Wednesday. It is June 1st. Welcome to June, everybody. Today on the show, Heath gives us 5 bold predictions. Jamie steals an Azer stat. We give our thoughts on the Ozark finale. We're going to do that at the very, very end of the show. There will be no spoilers. I'll tell you when it's happening. If you haven't seen it, don't worry. And also, we have a major programming announcement. We're going to do that in about 10 minutes. You don't want to miss it. You got to hear it. Major announcement. Anyway, Heath, you ready to be bold today? And also, I'm going to tell Jamie what you said about him behind his back yesterday, just letting you know.
I don't remember what I said about Jamie, so now I'm a little nervous. But no, I'm very excited. This is my favorite show of the year. I think we should do a bold prediction show every single week of the regular season. There is nothing better. I wrote this in the article. There's nothing better as a fantasy analyst than to get asked for bold predictions because it's completely fun and there's no accountability. Nobody expects you to be right.
Yeah. I agree. I love it. And I get to do my bold predictions on Friday because we needed an extra episode. So Schrager was like, I guess Ozark can do it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to giving bold predictions because they are just fun. Jamie, by the way, Heath said that his quarterback bold prediction was bolder than yours.
Oh, well, to be fair, I knew which one he was going to use. So that took that one off the table.
Right. So yesterday, Russell Wilson, QB1, that was Jamie's. Today, we'll find out who Heath says. I have a few segments first. Let's start with this one. Hilarious pun here. Worth the wait? W-E-I-G-H-T. Najee Harris weighs 244 pounds.
Which I don't like that.
Yeah, but he says it's only 4 pounds heavier than he was last year. He said, quote, "Brah, I weighed 240 last year. Reporters really don't be knowing nothing. Just be tweeting bleep."
I still don't like it.
I don't really like it either. 244 is a lot of pounds. That's like 2 of me almost. Not quite.
Yeah, I think 244 is a more successful running back weight than 122 that you weigh. But yeah, I just don't think there's a few guys who, if they gained weight, we might think it was a good thing, but Najee Harris is not one of them. And mostly it's not viewed as a positive.
But it is only 4 pounds, according to Najee Harris, brah.
Our NFL on CBS Twitter account said that he's now heavier than when Jerome Bettis arrived to Pittsburgh in 1996.
But he's not heavier than Derrick Henry.
No.
So
to be clear, I did not move Najee Harris at all based on this report. I just don't.
Well, because he's heavier, it's hard to move him.
Yeah.
What about you, Jamie? Is this going to change your rankings of Najee?
Probably not, but I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I just don't like it.
Okay. Next segment. Jamie steals an Azer stat.
Well, that's just Jamie stat.
Because I said on yesterday's show, we were talking about Aaron Jones. I mentioned how many catches he had in one game without Devontae Adams last year. I think it was 7 catches. And I said, this always happens. I don't have the exact numbers. I got to look into that. And you looked into that and you tweeted it. You beat me to it. So congratulations.
So I didn't steal it.
You kind of you stole my idea.
No. No.
I was going to do it. All right. Well, it was really good, though. You want to reveal it?
I don't remember exactly what it was.
I have it.
5 catches over the 8. So Adams in the last 3 years has missed. It's basically 7.5 games because in week 2 of the 2020 season, he left after halftime of that game. But Aaron Jones had a big spike in receptions. So it's basically like 8 games that he didn't finish the whole game or didn't make it past halftime over the last 3 seasons. My bold prediction was that Aaron Jones would lead the Packers in receptions. And so if you take that over 17 games, that's 85 catches if he hits the average. I don't think he's going to do that. But, that's kind of what we were talking about, that he has a chance to maybe be among the league leaders in receptions at the position. And so there's a pretty clear path to it. He's got 4 total touchdowns in those 8 games. He's averaged, I think it was 67 yards or 57 yards in those 8 games. So they use him quite a bit as a receiver whenever Adams has not been there.
That is one of my favorite Azer stats ever. This is why Jamie's an award-winning analyst. It's like this and late or great at tight end, things like this that he comes up with out of nowhere. Really, really fantastic.
I had him with 5 touchdowns, by the way. So the The 17-game pace for those 8 games without Devontae Adams over the last 3 seasons, 85 catches, 969 yards, 11 touchdowns on 117 targets. That's Aaron Jones in 7.5 games without Devontae Adams.
Where do you have Jones now in PPR, Jamie?
Right around like 16th or 17th overall, 8th or 9th running back off the board.
I've got him 8th, so yeah, we're in the same place.
Okay, here's another segment called Heath also has a stat to share.
Yes, this is a rebuttal for the people who say, well, yeah, Josh Allen and Kyler Murray got a lot better with Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, but Jalen Hurts isn't near as good a passer as those guys are. Before those guys, Josh Allen and Kyler Murray were essentially worse in almost every statistic that measures passing efficiency. Yards per attempt, Hurts is at 7.3 for the first 2 years in his career, or first 19 starts. Allen 6.6, Murray 6.6. He's better in adjusted net yards per attempt, the same or better in touchdown rate and interception rate. Murray's passer rating was slightly higher because he completed a lot of very short area passing early in his career, but Hurts every bit as good as Murray and Allen before they got their star number 1 wide receiver.
All right, so why don't we jump into that bold prediction, and then we'll do our major programming announcement. The bold prediction is that Jalen Hurts will be QB1 this year. And by the way, I just want to promote one thing real quick. We have a merchandise store for you. We have a promo code if you want to get T-shirts, mugs, sweatpants, laser engraved pint glasses, hats, water bottles. I got the long sleeve T-shirt. It's awesome. Schrager, you're going to see him in a little bit. He's wearing an FFT shirt today. I think Heath has the sweatpants. I got the link to the CBS store in the episode description. And if you want to use the promo code FANTASYFOOTBALL20, you're going to get 20% off your order. And that's just for our podcast listeners, FANTASYFOOTBALL20 in the CBS store if you want some FFT merchandise. It's really cool stuff, and you get to show your support for our podcast and tell your friends basically how you beat them every year. Just rub it in their faces. So again, the promo code is FANTASYFOOTBALL20, and the link is in the episode description. All right, so Jalen Hurts, QB1, and I'll remind everybody that in the first 7 games of the season, he was QB2 in 4-point per passing touchdown leagues, QB3 per game, and in 6-point he was QB5, QB6 per game, and then they just stopped throwing. They became super run heavy, but he's been awesome when they had the opportunity to throw the ball. So go ahead, Heath, the floor is yours.
Yeah, going back to Allen and Murray. Allen, the year after he acquired Stephon Diggs, threw for 1,500 more yards and 17 more touchdowns than he did the year before. That probably won't happen. But Murray threw for an extra 250 yards and 6 touchdowns. It was about 3.5 more fantasy points per game the 1 year over year, just in passing stats for Kyler Murray when he added DeAndre Hopkins. If you add 3.5 fantasy points per game to Jalen Hurts last year, that makes him QB3 last year. So I do, that's the lower of the 2 improvements. I just think it's hard to overestimate the impact that AJ Brown could have on Hurts as a passer. And he already has an enormous floor and ceiling because of what he does as a rusher. I don't know that anybody besides Lamar Jackson has more rushing upside than Jalen Hurts this year.
Jamie, is there anything? I don't know. Look, it's a bold prediction, so I know we're not going to rank him number 1. Although Heath, you have him where? You have
5, I think, right now.
5, yeah. Is there any reason why he can't be number 1? You could definitely make the case, right, Jamie?
You absolutely can. I mean, I have him 6, so I'm not far behind Heath, and probably the one quarterback that we differ on is I have Russell Wilson ahead of him. So, I think if you take Russ out, then he's right there. The only concern I have is which Eagles offense are we going to see? Are we going to see the Eagles offense at the beginning of the season when they allowed Jalen Hurts to throw and they allowed this, passing game to kind of dictate what they did? Or are we going to see the run heavy approach that we saw in the second half that allowed them to be a playoff contender? And so I think you're going to see probably a mix. It's probably going to come down to the touchdowns, for Hurts, what they do in the red zone. He's got all the tools. He's a running quarterback. They added weapons. He's proven that he can, be successful throwing the ball from a fantasy perspective, clearly not from a team perspective, based on how their season went last year. But, the Eagles have done everything right this offseason to build around him. The only question would be is that, if he starts off struggling, and I know it's Heath's favorite guy of all time, but if he starts off struggling, do they bench him? And the rumblings in Philadelphia about, is he a franchise guy? Is he the guy that they should be focused on? We know they have the capital in 2023 to get another quarterback, and so if things start to go south early and he's the one that's the reason why, that could be a problem. But I think you just got to buy into the upside. There's just there's so many fallback options at that position that you should always be looking to swing for the fences. And he's the guy that can hit a home run based on everything in front of him.
Mm-hmm. The last year, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think last year, at least some of us felt like you could draft Jalen Hurts as a number one starter, but he probably wasn't one of the guys that should be your only quarterback. He wasn't like a Dak Prescott or something. So maybe you wanted to draft a backup.
You know what my bold prediction was last year?
What's
one
that?
Of my 3. I went back and looked to see what I wrote. Jalen Hurts will be a top 5 quarterback, I think it was.
Well, do you feel like you got that right?
No, I didn't.
You did for half the season.
No, that was the DeAndre, because I was looking back and looking at mine as well. And like DeAndre Swift, I didn't get right. I had him as a top 5 running back, but he was that for the first 6 weeks of the season. So I got my victory laps in before he got hurt.
No,
Hurts was early.
I think you obviously you were onto something with your bold predictions, even if they didn't exactly come true. But anyway, do you feel like, based on what Jamie just said, with maybe he's the only, he's probably the only top 12 quarterback that has any chance of losing his job, but that's not exactly what Jamie said, but he was laying out the case. Do you think Jalen Hurts can be the only quarterback you draft?
I'm fine with him as the only quarterback I draft, as long as we're not in one of those leagues where everybody's drafting 2 and some teams are drafting 3 and there's just nobody on the waiver wire.
Okay. Another thing that I wanted to bring up was YAC, yards after catch. If you look at the teams that led the NFL in YAC last year: Chiefs, Bucks, Bengals, Packers, Chargers, Raiders, Cardinals, Cowboys, 49ers. We know their offense. Now, a lot of that is just pass attempts, right? But the best passing teams are up there, are leading the league in YAC. And A.J. Brown, in 2 of his 3 seasons, if you look at players who have had 50 or more catches, in 2 of his 3 seasons, he's been number 1 in YAC per catch. So that's pretty crazy. He's got that ability. All right. We got a major programming announcement here. Schrager, what's up?
What's up, everybody? Big announcement on my end. This is my last week with CBS and with Fantasy Football Today. It's been an amazing 3 years. And Adam, I know we wanted to chat through some of my favorite memories, but the number one thing has been interacting with all of our fans, all of our FFT family, whether it's Ask FFT on Twitter or Draftathon, raising thousands of dollars for St. Jude. It's been an amazing 3 years here. But yeah, you want to talk some memories?
I'd love to. But yeah, before we do that, this is crazy. This is Ben Schrager's last show. He's basically his last day. He's moving tomorrow. He'll tell you all about it. I went from interviewing him in a Starbucks in New York City to him being my boss 2 years later. I've watched him grow into a leader. He became a boss at a very young age at a major company. So it's really impressive. He has helped our show so much. We've grown so much in the how long you been here? 3 years?
3, yeah.
In the 3 years he's been here. We weren't even doing YouTube. He's grown our social media. It's just he brought us to the 21st century, and he's been incredibly easy to work with. Never an argument. Unbelievable hire. I didn't hire him. I just helped interview him, so I wasn't giving myself credit. Unbelievable hire. We're gonna miss him.
Started hiring him.
We're gonna miss him so much, and thank you for everything you've done, man.
Well, it's been amazing working with you, Adam, and everyone on the team, and you've been all so easy to work with, and everyone's been willing to do Ask FFT and interact with the fans and everything. And I know that's going to continue, and I think we have strong plans for the rest of this season and years to come. But thinking back to my time, my number one memory is probably fantasy football yesterday. Not even today, yesterday, the week we did during COVID.
Yeah. Those are really fun. So that was what did we do?
Who did I get roasted for? There was somebody I had in my top 5 that I just got roasted.
We were doing our top 5,
Boy, maybe it was greatest players of the.
Oh, it was Frank Gore. It was
Frank Gore.
Might have been Frank Gore. He was. the U. I think I talked to Schrager. I got an email from somebody in the New York office and said, we've got this kid who plays college baseball at Rice and runs a fantasy football Twitter account. And he was wanting to know if he could talk to one of you about the industry. And so I talked to him on a phone call. Sheesh. That was 2 years, 3
That
years?
was 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago. But my favorite Schrager memory is probably beers with Gardner Minshew in Wynwood.
We really did just drink beers with Gardner Minshew, and no one else was there.
And Peter King.
And Peter King.
That would be a pretty good memory. Yeah, that'd be a fun one. Yeah, fantasy football yesterday was great. You did a great job during the pandemic. There was nothing going on. We had to come up with a lot of programming. And this is
my favorite Super Bowl memory, was creating GIFs like this, especially this one. And we'll just let this play, and everyone who's not viewing on YouTube, you should probably watch YouTube right now.
My favorite Traeger moment was that he would make me set up all these mock drafts and then would decline taking part in all the mock drafts because he had all these mysterious meetings.
Oh yeah, Ben's been missing. So Ben's always in a meeting. So anyway, Ben, what are your future plans?
So I'm moving to Austin, Texas at the end of this week and going to work for Win Reality, which is a virtual reality baseball training company. So not podcast, not fantasy, but it's going to be a fun new challenge, get back to my baseball roots and do some virtual reality baseball training for kids, college players, pro players. So it should be a really fun experience, but nothing beats the FFT crew.
You've been awesome, and I thank you. And I'm so not happy about this. Because
so I want to go back to the virtual reality thing as well. I'm assuming that, like, to make this fun, maybe I'm just like giving you guys printing money for you to make this fun, that there will be like the pitchers will be like avatars of, you'll be facing a pitcher, and it won't just be like a virtual pitching machine. Do you know how much fun it would be if we could get Azer as one of the avatars and you could just sit there and take Azer deep? That would be fantastic.
Oh my! I mean, what are we putting him at? Like 73 miles an hour? Like
no chance. No chance. Azer to break 60.
How about if you want to practice beating a batter? He's the batter.
How about
you become the pitcher? He's the batter.
Azer bats. The new Azer bats. We'll figure out what.
Did you take offense to me saying no way you'd break 60?
Did I?
Yeah.
No, I didn't take offense, but I think I could break 60. I think I could break 60. Actually, from a mound, I don't know. Where can I do
it might be 60 out of your hand. I don't think it'd be 60 by the time it crossed home plate.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
How far away are you standing?
10 feet. I don't know.
I watched last week a 10-year-old throw a perfect game on 68 pitches, and he throws between 65 and 70. Do you think you could be better than a 10-year-old? Because I can't.
No, I don't. I can't throw that fast. I don't think. No.
Do you think you could hit that?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I could hit that.
No.
What was he throwing? Curveballs or just fast?
He has 4 pitches in his arsenal, from what I was told.
No chance.
2 seam, 14 change up and a curveball.
Shut up, Heath. I can hit.
No chance.
10 years old.
First off, he's taller than you.
I can hit a 10-year-old.
He's taller than you.
And he's probably throwing from what, 54 or
feet away? He was throwing from 48 feet away.
60 miles an hour from 48 feet. There's no chance Azer's touching that.
Okay, but I think I could throw 60 from 48 feet away. I think I could. All right, anyway, this is about Ben. Ben, thank you.
Ben loves talking baseball.
Ben, you're the man.
How hard did you throw, Schrager?
Got up to 87, but
87.
I was much better at like 81 throwing underhand.
Yeah.
I could throw. I can't throw underhand. Like sidearm, submarine.
Yeah, you gotta drop it down. Like,
yeah. I think we're 41.
Dan Quisenberry.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a break here. When we come back, Schrager will be here till just about the end of the show. He will not be here for the Ozark recap, but we'll have more of Heath's.
He's not gonna find out about Jonah turning into a vampire?
No, he actually turns into it's werewolf versus vampire. They fight at the end. We will have more of his bold predictions, including 2 Chiefs running backs, what they're going to do, a wide receiver, a 29-year-old wide receiver who's going to have his best season yet, and a bold prediction on Kyle Pitts. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today. All right, we are dealing with our feelings of abandonment here as we welcome you back to the show, and we've got our news and notes.
It's really, you really screwed Heath over. Like, you should have not had his bold predictions on the show that Ben leaves. You should have done it like the show that you leave so that nobody's going to remember your bold predictions.
But Ben will be gone by then.
Yeah, you should have made this your day.
That seems wrong. I mean, that would be a letdown to Schrager since he made
But
the
you're
schedule
overshadowing Heath.
for this week.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm hurt. My favorite show of the year, and you ruined it.
Yes. Heath's, let it be known that Heath's favorite show of the year was the one that Schrager left. It was Ben's last day. All right, injuries, news, and notes. Rashad Penny's back at practice after missing time with a hamstring injury. Deontay Johnson reported to voluntary OTAs, which was nice to see. Chase Claypool has been working at multiple positions in an effort to be more versatile, according to The Athletic. Aaron Donald hasn't ruled out retirement. They still haven't worked out his contract, and Aaron Donald said he'd be fine, but he wants another Super Bowl, but he'd be fine leaving.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you. Green Bay hoping to have left tackle David Bakhtiari back for training camp. He missed almost all of last season. He played only one game after injury late in the 2020 season. So Packers, that's a big deal. I mean, this guy was a great left tackle. The Bucs, looks like they're not going to have Ndamukong Suh, but they signed defensive tackle Akeem Hicks to a one-year deal. If you just want to look at who was the better run defender last year, according to Pro Football Focus, Akeem Hicks was significantly better than Ndamukong Suh, but Hicks has had trouble staying healthy. He's played 5, 15, and 9 games in his last 3 seasons. We know that Bucs run defense is ridiculous when they're healthy, and they have Akeem Hicks to replace Ndamukong Suh now. Charges against Jerry Jeudy were dismissed, and this is, I don't remember if I mentioned this when I saw it last week. I don't think I did, but pretty big deal. Trey Lance played with a chip bone in his finger for the entire 2021 season. He said that he had to learn how to throw the ball differently. I'm sorry if we're repeating this, but I mean, this is a pretty big story because he wasn't a great passer last year, but had a broken finger for the entire year, Jamie. So do you think Trey Lance could be the only quarterback that you draft, or do you think you'd have to pair him with someone?
I mean, it's hard to say today that he would be the only quarterback you would draft because Jimmy Garoppolo is still there. If Garoppolo is not there, then yes, he would be the only quarterback I would draft. But as Heath said, you have to know your league. So, if everybody's drafting multiple quarterbacks, then you should take 2. But, if you have a small bench and you're wasting it on a quarterback, and then you shouldn't have to worry about that.
Which finger did he break?
His throwing hand finger.
It was on his throwing hand. Was it this one?
By the way, Jamie, can you attest to this comment?
Was it this one?
You stop it, Heath. Can you back up this comment? The 10-year-old probably has a deeper voice than Adam, according to one of our YouTube.
When I congratulated him after the game, he said, "Thank you."
And he wasn't using any sound effects.
He is now, along with this is my older son's team, by the way, who's 10, but he is now playing with the 12-year-old team that can be eligible for the Little League World Series. So
Ooh.
His name is Junior Cordero. If there's a team from Boca that makes it, just remember his name.
Okay. And remember these other 4 bold predictions from Heath Cummings. Here we go, Heath. Your Chiefs backfield bold prediction.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Ronald Jones will both finish as top 24 running backs on a per-game basis.
Okay, Clyde has not finished top 24 per game in either of his first 2 seasons. But this will be the year along with Ronald Jones.
And I think Ronald Jones actually did maybe in 2020 somehow finish. Because I had actually in a full, what's that?
I'm sure he did because he was incredible when Fournette was out.
I actually had in 2020 that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was RB23 and Ronald Jones was RB24 in full PPR.
What a terrible year for running backs.
Right. But I think it maybe gets overlooked just how much Chiefs running backs did last year. They had 1,393 rushing yards, 793 receiving yards, 87 catches, and 17 touchdowns. Now, it was chopped up amongst multiple guys, but if you just chop that up amongst Jones and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that's enough production to get them close. I do think there's a couple of reasons that things might be a little bit better for the running back group this year than it was in the past. And a lot of that's just that Tyreek Hill's not going to be there. He had, I think, 230 rushing yards over the past 2 seasons and 2 rushing touchdowns. He also had a lot of receiving touchdowns on little crazy little plays in the inside the 5-yard line that Andy Reid likes to do. I think Mecole Hardman will take some of that work, but I do think there will be more running back opportunities inside the 10-yard line. And then I really am hopeful. I've not seen anything that suggests this. This is a little bit of a hope and a prayer, but we're just going to use Clyde outside the tackles and in the passing game as it looked like he should be used when he came into the NFL. And then Ronald Jones, when he just goes forward and has good blocking, is a very good runner between the tackles. I think he could be excellent in short yardage, maybe approach double-digit touchdowns while Clyde catches 60 passes.
What do you think, Jamie?
I mean, it's certainly possible. But how much of that will take away, because, you're giving touchdowns away from Mahomes at this point, so how many touchdowns, does that ruin some pass catchers there in Kansas City, specifically Mahomes and probably Kelsey, if those red zone chances go to the running backs. And so can this offense sustain, because I'm hoping at least one of the receivers, clearly Juju being the one of them emerges as a top 24, if not higher, fantasy option. Can this offense, and the answer is yes, but can this offense sustain carry a top 3 quarterback, top 2 tight end, top 20 receiver, and 2 top 24 running backs? Be interested to find out.
Probably only if Edwards-Helaire and Jones are like 2020, very, very borderline number 2 running backs. Probably if they're both 20 to 24 if it works. But I also think
and clearly, that the involvement that the way that they're producing is in the passing.
Right. And I think the other side of this, though, is like with their current ADPs, if either of them misses time, and they've both missed time in the past, that opens up a real opportunity for the other one to be a lot better than this.
Or Derek Gore.
Or Derek Gore.
Yeah, well, in Tampa Bay, when Leonard Fournette, if you remember 2 years ago, Fournette kind of didn't really get a lot of work early because he signed late. Whenever Fournette wasn't there and Ronald Jones was the lead back, he was I think he averaged like a top 8 running back. He was so good in that offense. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity. And Darrell Williams was always a guy who could come in and score some touchdowns, and he wasn't really that good of a runner, but he was obviously like a must-start guy, basically, or close to it. All right, yeah, so I guess I don't really know what else to say. We'll move on. There's nothing.
The value for both, as Heath said, is amazing. I mean, you're getting guys in this offense, which is something you always want to do, that are going to touch the ball quite a bit, which is probably going to happen for free.
But the counter to that is, what if they're both on the field so much that neither of them is really worth starting?
But it's not costing you much. That's the problem.
Clyde is costing you, what, 7th round pick? Something
That's nothing for what the upside is.
Oh, that I don't agree, because you've got a lot of, for what the upside is, yes, but if he doesn't hit his upside and he's just like an player, then he's probably not worth it.
What if he's RB24 in the 7th round? You didn't burn a pick, and there was the potential for the upside.
The way that I like to build my teams would be like, that's when I'm starting to look for my second running back, if not my third. But I already have my receivers in place, and I haven't taken a quarterback yet. That's an easy dice roll there.
Okay, Brandon Cooks will have a career year and finish as a top 12 wide receiver. So he has never
PPR.
In PPR, he's never had more than 1,204 yards, I believe. You think he's gonna get there?
I think he will. He will score more fantasy points this season on a per game basis than he ever has. Part of that is because he already got the volume boost last year. His 134 targets was a career high last year. That was on a Texans team that was one of only 3 that ran fewer than 60 plays per game. So I think the Texans offensive volume you expect to be higher, just because anytime a team is that low in terms of play volume, you expect them to regress towards the mean. I think you expect Davis Mills to at least be a little bit better, which should help Cook's efficiency. And last year, Cook's yards per target, the worst of his career, his yards per reception, the second worst of his career, because he was playing with a rookie quarterback who wasn't great. The other thing is he averaged 9 targets per game in the 9 healthy games he played with Davis Mills. So even those 134 targets, he was on a 153 target pace in games with Davis Mills. I think we'll see more volume and more efficiency from Cooks than we saw last year.
His best finish per game is 12th in PPR. He's only had 1 season in his career, Brandon Cooks, where he's finished higher than 17th per game. So in full PPR, Heath is projecting the best the most fantasy points per game. I don't know if that'll translate to the best finish. It depends on the other wide receivers every year, but
he's definitely one of the guys I have ranked. Like, this is one of the bold predictions that I just have it ranked this way, or not ranked this way, projected this way. But I have him ranked below where I have him projected. In the projections, he came out 7th.
Okay. Jamie, anything not to like about Brandon Cooks?
No, there's a lot to love. And first off, speaking of love what the Texans did today. They're at minicamp and they're all wearing shirts that say "We stand with Uvalde." So supporting the community and just the tragedy there. So good job by the Texans, at least in that small gesture. No, I mean Brandon Cooks in a great spot. And you look at this receiving core. There's I don't know a lot to like, but there's a little bit to like about Nico Collins and his situation. There's a little bit to like about Brevin Jordan and his situation. John Mechie can be is it Mechie or Mechie? I always get confused.
Mechie.
I think it's Mechie, but
Mechie, if he's healthy, and there's a lot to like there. The run game should be better to open up things in the passing game. With the additions of Marlon Mack and Dameon Pierce. So this offense is trending in the right direction. As Heath mentioned, Davis Mills. Could be some more targets going in other directions away from Brandon Cooks, but I mean, just criminally undervalued again. For what the upside is. And I don't know if you want him to be your number one wide receiver, but I don't think you should hate it if that's the way it shakes out. If you go, into the 4th round, because I think that's where he's going to end up settling. If you get to the 4th round and you've gone, 2 running backs in the tight end or some, combination of not taking a wide receiver by that point, he's got that type of upside. So there's a really good situation for Brandon Cooks. You just have to fear at some point as he's getting older, is there going to be a drop off for the way that he plays? I hope not. I hope this isn't the year.
And I think that's the big thing. Like, even if you don't believe anything that I said about Brandon Cooks, he's still a great value.
Oh, he's a tremendous value. What do I say? He's like wide receiver 27 in NFC ADP since May 1st, something like that. I asked Heath on FFT and 5 if he'd rather have Cooks or the Broncos receivers. He said Cooks. Jamie, do you agree?
Cooks or the Broncos receivers?
Yeah.
100% Cooks. As much as I like the Broncos receivers, 100% Cooks.
Okay, next bold prediction. This is an interesting one, Heath. Jahan Dotson will be the best wide receiver on the Washington Commanders. What?
Yeah, just stretching a little bit. But
when did you come up with this one?
What's that?
When did you come up with this one?
Oh, it was definitely the Twitter OTA reports that put this into my head. 100%. I will not deny that at all. And that should not necessarily change when you draft somebody or how you project somebody. But when you're talking about bold predictions, well, let's
Sure.
go with it. He has, if you haven't seen, had a very good time at OTAs, apparently building great rapport with Carson Wentz. And you know who's not at OTA?
Terry McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin. He's wanting a new contract. And we're just one tweet about Dotson having breakfast with Carson Wentz away from Dotson's ADP absolutely exploding. No, I do think it's worth saying that Dotson's a much better prospect than Terry McLaurin was when he came into the NFL. He's 2 years younger. He's a 1st-round pick instead of a 3rd-round pick. He had almost as much production in his final year at Penn State as Terry McLaurin had in his career at Ohio State. And they drafted Dotson in the 1st round when they already had McLaurin on the team. So I do think that there's I don't think their value should be as far apart as their ADP is right now. And I don't think this one's completely crazy, especially if McLaurin's holdout extends into training camp.
Dotson had 20 touchdown catches in 21 games in his last 2 seasons at Penn State. He ran a 4.43. Yeah, he's kind of smaller. Might be a slot guy. I don't know. But
he earned a 32% target share in college. Terry McLaurin earned 8%. Yeah. Their difference as prospects. Well, McLaurin had Michael Thomas early in his career.
And Paris Campbell.
What's that?
And Paris Campbell. Which, again, that might be a point in John Dotson's favor if Paris Campbell was impacting. Campbell was a pretty good player.
Yeah, right. He was.
I think if this bold prediction comes true, Adam as a Giants fan is going to be happy because Washington will be even worse.
No, I want the 1st pick. I'm all in on the tank this year.
Yeah, well, so might Washington be if Dotson's their best receiver. Yeah. I would hope this doesn't come true because there's much more people invested in McLaurin than there are in Jahan Dotson. But
pretty bold.
I mean, hey. It would probably be a McLaurin injury or McLaurin not playing. Speaking of breakfast with receiver, Dave and I did a hit on HQ yesterday with the 100 days of the NFL, 100 days until the start of the season. and he was saying the topic was Cooper Kupp, and he was saying, using the line from Tombstone about "I'm your Huckleberry," and he kept saying that Kupp is Stafford's Huckleberry, and I said, I wonder if they're having Huckleberry for breakfast together. So.
Yeah, I don't understand any of that. I never saw Tombstone. But I know Heath didn't either. So
never saw what?
Tombstone.
Oh, I've seen it like 7 times.
Oh, okay.
What are you talking about? I'm from rural Missouri. I've seen every Western that's ever been made.
My bad. That is definitely a movie that I really want to see. It's on my list. I'll get to it next off.
Have you seen True Grit?
Not seen True Grit.
You need to see both of them. Their new one wasn't quite as good as the original, but they're both very good.
Okay, last bold prediction. What a wah this one is. Kyle Pitts will finish outside the top 8 tight ends again. Ooh.
It's no fun.
It's not.
I ended on a sour note, but I just think it's worth pointing out that Kyle Pitts finished last year tight end 11 on a per game basis. His team went from Matt Ryan at quarterback to either Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ridder, and drafted the first wide receiver in the draft at number 8 overall. And now he's a round 3 pick as the number 3 tight end again. And I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. It's because he only scored 1 touchdown on 110 targets, and everybody rightly expects he's going to score a lot more. But if Marcus Mariota, his new quarterback, has a career 4.3% touchdown rate. If Pitts had a 4.3% touchdown rate last year, he would have scored 5 touchdowns if you round up. That still would have left him just behind TJ Hawkinson per game at tight end 8.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what to do with this one. What do you think, Jamie?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ifs, obviously, when it comes to Pitts. First off, is Mariota going to be the quarterback for 17 games? So does Desmond Ridder come in and or does he even start the season? And he's such a difference maker, like we saw once upon a time with, it's a very lofty comparison, but a guy like Russell Wilson, who was not a first round quarterback and, came in as a rookie and beat out, a veteran that was brought in to be the guy and Matt Flynn and turned that team around. As a passer, Ridder has certainly the upside to be a better passer. I don't know if he will be, but he has the potential to be. But I think, you look at Mariota and what he's done with tight ends in the past. I think it was Delaney Walker in Tennessee. He had the one game with Darren Waller in Vegas a couple of years ago when Derek Carr got hurt and Waller just went nuts. The drafting the first wide receiver, I mean, they were going to bring in bodies somewhere, so, for their franchise sake, thankfully they addressed the position. But, is Drake London right now better than what the combination of Calvin Ridley early in the season and then Russell Gage at the end of the season for what this offense was and what Pitts was competing against? So that's probably, as a rookie wide receiver, I would say on par with the type of production that was being taken away from Pitts. But I think it's just a natural progression of what these tight ends do, players do, but, tight ends specifically. Their second year for the ones that have been great has been the season when they've taken that huge step forward. And so, you're hoping for Pitts to be in the 130 target range. You're hoping for the touchdowns to hopefully be north of 5. But as we've seen with George Kittle's career, 5 touchdowns can certainly be sustainable if the other things are there, the catches and the yards. And that's the other part for Pitts. Will his targets lead to just, many more catches, many more receiving yards? And that's the hope. So I think he belongs in the conversation with Kittle and Waller more so than the conversation with Kelsey and Andrews. You could debate round 3 versus, 4 and 5. I'm certainly, would prefer to get him later than that, later than round 3. But, if you want a piece of what could be the next great player at that position, you probably have to buy in early.
Matt Ryan, by the way, averaged 233 passing yards per game. So it's not like he had a great season. He had a pretty bad season by his standards. Marcus Mariota in his career has averaged. So again, I won't even do the decimals. I'll just round up. 233 yards per game for Matt Ryan last year. Marcus Mariota has averaged in his career 235, 228, 216, 181. Yikes. Now, there was a game where he played and didn't start. And then 172, another game where he played and didn't start. But at the beginning, and then, and that's basically it. At the beginning,
and also you have
in that range.
I think it's worth asking, like, how much of Matt Ryan averaging 233 yards per game last year had to do with Matt Ryan. The year before, he averaged 286. The year before that, it was 298. The year before that, it was 308.
I'm just saying, Kyle Pitts had a 1,000-yard season as a rookie tight end on an offense that didn't even throw for 4,000 yards.
Right. Ryan might have been washed last year, and
washed up.
It could be washed. It's possible Marcus Mariota's washed.
Yeah, he was never. I don't know. All right, those are Heat's bold predictions. Jalen Hurts QB1, Brandon Cook's career season, 2 top 24 running backs on the Chiefs, Jahan Dotson, the best wide receiver on the Commanders, and Kyle Pitts will finish outside the top 8 tight ends again. And let's do some. Jamie, I thought you were going to tell the story, by the way, about my tweets yesterday.
I want to hear the story about your tweets. What did you do?
Let's see. How's the best way to phrase this? So Adam, did you tweet something about Rocky movies, I guess?
Yeah, I ranked the Rocky movies. Somebody wanted me to rank them.
So I ranked the Rocky movies, and somebody replied to him about the hate for Rocky 6.
Rocky Balboa. Yeah.
And you replied back something I don't recall, but for some reason it was off the podcast tweet that he had from yesterday. So me and Dave were tagged in this. And I looked at the avatar. And it's male genitalia.
Yeah, I was tweeting back and forth with a Twitter account where the avatar was just a wiener, basically, and I had no idea. I didn't even look. I didn't even notice.
And the Twitter handle suggests
it was disgusting
what it was. And so I said to him, Michael, what are you doing? Jamie, he replies back, oh bleep.
Azer is getting into a back and forth with someone who has a picture of blank for their Twitter avatar. And I wrote, holy bleep, did not even notice that. And
where did Creed fall in the rankings?
Hold on. Let me read an email and then I'll look at Rocky rankings. Okay, emails.
Well, I mean, we're talking Rocky. We got to make sure everybody's alive. So
listen, here, yeah, right. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're doing the rest of the show. Emails for a few minutes, and then Jamie, Heath, and I are going to give our thoughts on the Ozark finale. So when we're finished with the emails, I'll let everybody know. We won't spoil anything. You can turn off the show, but we will be talking Ozark. Okay, anyway, from Matthew. Please rank these tight ends this year in redraft. Dalton Schultz, Zach Ertz, Pat Freiermuth, and Mike Gesicki.
This is a great idea.
Freiermuth, Gesicki. How do you rank
We
them?
should do this at all of the positions and put them on the website.
People, have you ever? Hey, Heath, I have a question. Have you ever gotten a start-sit question during the season? People want to hear your reasoning, not just read your rankings.
I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead. I have my Rocky rankings when you're done ranking these tight ends.
is Schultz, Freiermuth who?
Schultz, Freiermuth, Ertz, and Gesicki.
Schultz, Ertz, Freiermuth, Gesicki.
Yeah.
Okay. Here are the Rocky rankings. Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 4, Rocky 3, Creed, Rocky Balboa, never saw Creed 2, Gigli, Rocky 5. If I think a movie is horrible, I put Gigli in front of it whenever I rank it. Okay. This question is from, I don't know who it's from. He actually kind of reversed it.
How have you not seen Creed 2? What's wrong with you?
I started watching Creed 2 on an airplane. I saw about 5 to 10 minutes. I thought it was one of the worst starts to a movie. I thought it was so pathetically bad.
Well, you don't like Michael B. Jordan, so
that's not true. I never said that.
It's very true.
You cannot misquote me in your stinking threat.
You don't like Michael B. Jordan?
I love it. He's great. I don't feel that way. I have no opinion on Michael B. Jordan. I didn't really like Creed that much. Anyway, the question is
Black Panther. What's not to like?
Lily, Robin, Ted, Marshall, and Barney. That's How I Met Your Mother, right?
Yep.
I have a question about DK Metcalf's dynasty value. Everyone seems down on his value compared to a year ago, partially because of the way he finished and the assumption that anybody but Russ is a downgrade in the upcoming season. However, is there a chance that a lesser QB1 forces Metcalf the ball more? And will losing more games and getting more garbage passing work at the end of games help him as well? He goes in a little bit deeper with some stats. Has the hate for DK Metcalf gone too far? Is he a hold, a buy, or a sell in Dynasty?
I would say he's a buy because he's certainly cheaper. And all those reasons could be right, as well as he might not be in Seattle next year, or they might have a significant quarterback upgrade. So this is probably as low as he's going to be, while he still has the upside to be one of the best receivers in fantasy. So I would absolutely be trying to buy. I wouldn't be overpaying, but I'd be trying to buy for sure.
And I don't know what the perceived value drop is. I think I was a little lower on him at the beginning of last year than most. I had him wide receiver 5 in Dynasty last September. I've currently got him wide receiver 9. So I've dropped him a little bit, but he's still definitely a top 12 wide receiver and should go in the first 3 rounds of a rookie draft or a startup, maybe first 2.
Yeah, and this How I Met Your Mother character, he has Metcalf in both of his dynasty leagues. He's been looking for offers, and he did get the best offer he got was 103 in the rookie draft. So would you rather have 103 or Metcalf?
Metcalf.
Yeah, you're talking about Metcalf versus London, Burks, Wilson, or Ken Walker. No.
You'd rather have Metcalf?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. This is from Ethan. Real quick, would you rather have Metcalf or Breece Hall?
I think that comes down to what you need, but I'd probably still have Metcalf.
I think that's one I have to pull up the top 150 for because I think they're relatively close, but I have Hall ahead of Metcalf.
All right, from Ethan. Half PPR keeper league, keep 5. Patrick Mahomes, Jonathan Taylor. I'm not going to lie to you, this is a pretty easy one. Mahomes, Taylor, Montgomery. He just says Allen, so I'm thinking that's Keenan Allen. Jerry Jeudy, Ridley, Ayuk, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Dalton Schultz.
Mahomes, Taylor, Montgomery, Allen, and Jeudy.
Yeah, first 5.
Yep.
From Ian, we are entering the second year of our PPR Superflex Dynasty League. We have a 3-round rookie-only draft this season. I was offered the 5th and the 16th pick in this year's rookie draft for my Travis Etienne. I also have the 3rd pick and a mid-second round pick. So would you give up the 5th and the 16th pick for Travis Etienne? It's Superflex, and he also has the 3rd pick.
He was offered the 5th and the 6th. So would you accept the 5th and 16th, right?
Sorry. Yes. Would you give up Etienne for the 5th and the 16th pick?
I would.
So you're talking, again, one of those receivers, probably Wilson. I think just based on what we'll see, Burks and London going ahead of him, Walker probably going ahead of him. So 16 is probably the Superflex league, so the quarterbacks might start coming to play there. Etienne, if he was part of this class, is he better than Breece Hall?
I would not say so, but
I would say he's better than Walker.
Yeah, I don't know. He's also got the 3rd pick, so he could end up with Walker.
yeah.
Possible.
So 3, 5, and 16. I don't know. I'd probably keep Etienne.
Okay. All right. So it's obviously a pretty even trade. All right, everybody. If you want to talk about Ozark, please stick around. If you don't, thank you for being here for the show. We'll have Dave's bold predictions tomorrow. We will not have Ben Schrager on tomorrow. This was Ben's last day. Bye, Ben. I think Ben left already.
Bye. Love you so much.
All right, man.
Bye, Ben.
Enjoy your meeting.
Oh, he changed.
I got a meeting.
Last day. Wear whatever the hell you want.
I got to dress pretty in the office. Come on, Adam.
All right. Well, sad day for the FFT family for sure. But Ben's going on to I don't want to say bigger and better things, but he's going on to hopefully for his sake bigger
and better things for him.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. So what you guys think of Ozark?
Of Ben's last show?
Of Ozark.
I enjoyed it, but when I get invested in characters, I never really get like, oh, that was terrible. I know some people were disappointed.
I think as far as like endings of really good shows go, it was less disappointing than most.
Like what? It was better than Game of Thrones.
That's from what I hear.
It wasn't better.
It was better than Game of Thrones. I mean, look, you knew somebody prominent was going to die.
Yeah.
I wish it hadn't been.
I didn't like that.
Can I just tell you like my overarching theme that I came up with?
Yeah.
I maybe had a few drinks when I came up with this, and I had sent a bunch of DMs to one of our listeners who I've become friends with because I couldn't put it out on Twitter. Like I really think that last season, or like maybe even the show as a whole, was like this was the feminist mob show. It was a takedown of the patriarchy. Omar was killed by his sister. Ben was killed by his sister. Jacob was killed by his wife. Nelson was killed by Rachel. Javi was killed by Ruth. Marty gets to live, but he's clearly not in charge of anything.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing.
Wendy was responsible for so many people's deaths too. Right? Yeah. Directly or indirectly, she just got so many people.
Well, I mean, you look at who's in charge now as the show ends.
Yeah, but I think though, for what you're talking about, Ruth would have to live.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just think like maybe within this world, even like the money still always wins.
Yeah. The thing was, it was more about money winning. Yeah. Even in the last scene, they tell you exactly what they were getting at, right? He's like, this isn't that kind of world where the Kennedys and whatever. And she's like, why not? And then kill him.
It's definitely that kind of world.
So I was reading a bunch of stuff about, did Jonah shoot him?
Of course he shot him.
I agree, but there are some people that think like, did he finally become a true member of the family at that point?
Well, and like that was the other
or buy
thing.
back into being part of the family.
That look on Wendy's face when she saw Jonah with the gun, like the pride, that could have been any mob boss when their son finally steps up, and like it was something.
Yeah. I thought that the show was great. I thought the finale was fine. It wasn't an amazing finale, but it was a great show. I'm sad about Ruth. I guess I thought that Ruth's death could have been a little bit more dramatic. I didn't really like that whole scene. Anybody feel that way? I just thought it was kind of a whatever scene.
I think the drama was more like when the pharmacist, whatever her name is, she admitted that it was Ruth.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Like that was she gonna lie again? And Ruth lives.
I thought like the way they built up to that, like where it happened was more significant than anything. Like her tearing down all those trailers and reliving for that episode or 2 episodes, all the terrible memories of the people on that piece of land. And all of those guys had been killed either by her or by this whole thing somehow. And then she gets shot on that land before she ever does what she was going to do with it.
So what do you think? Is it a top 5 show for you? It's really up there.
I don't have a ranking.
Let's see how Stranger Things ends.
Are you into this season yet? Have you started?
I am.
Yeah. I watched 1 episode. It's good.
It's a new show.
So I don't know. I feel like that had something profound to say about Ozark. I like Narcos better, personally.
No.
I like The Shield better, like Breaking Bad better. I enjoyed Game of Thrones more, even though the last 2 seasons were pathetic. Actually, just season 7.
I liked Mad Men better.
Didn't see it.
That's Mad Men's probably my favorite.
Okay. Yeah, Ozark was great. It was great. I thought Jason Bateman and Laura Linney were so different and played off of each other so well. I don't know. Everything was great. The acting was great. Ruth was the best character on the show
by far.
And I'm happy that Netflix let it finish because Netflix cancels everything.
Did you see the I'm terrible with actors' names, and so what was the Netflix mini series that Ruth just did on where she was the New York socialite?
My wife watched that one.
We watched that one, and she is a completely different person in that with a completely different accent.
Yeah.
But there are times in the last season of Ozark where you hear that accent from the other show kind of start to bleed through.
Really?
Right.
I think that can wrap up our Ozark discussion. Yeah, it just wasn't one of those like, oh my God, did you see what? It wasn't one of those. This kind of just wrapped up. Oh, I know what my question was. I had the dumbest thing. It's unbelievable that I don't know the answer to this. So are the birds out, or are they just going to keep laundering money with the FBI knowing about it and they're protected in that regard?
I think they're out. Like they got all the funding for the foundation.
Right, but they said they have to keep laundering through the bell. But I didn't know if they were doing that or not.
No, I think that was until they got their donors.
I thought the better question is who owns the bell now?
Oh, that's a good question.
Probably Marty again.
I just kind of assumed that Ruth, knowing what might come, had left it to Rachel, right?
Rachel
Her partner?
or 3.
Oh, yeah. Could be
3. That's right. Yeah.
That he's very wealthy. Well, thank you to all of you for watching and listening. This extended version, this Ozark talk.
Breaking news.
Uh-oh.
The
Wait,
Vikings have signed Albert Wilson.
I forgot to
That was
mention.
yesterday.
It was yesterday? The Vikings just tweeted it 19 minutes ago.
Well, they confirmed it, but it was Drew Rosenthal said it yesterday.
I have a breaking news sound effect. But
It was official now.
It is official now. Also, David Njoku is official now. If you want to go breaking on that happened this morning.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Oh, and the Darrell Williams
Worst contract in NFL history.
Njoku, yeah, it was pretty bad.
Later, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today.
Breaking news: Dan Marino has retired.